We're here with Morris Jones. He's running for Troup County Commissioner. Morris, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up here in Troup County and have lived here my whole life except when I went to the University of Georgia. And when I graduated from the University of Georgia, I came back and went to work with my dad and uncle with Jones Brothers and Jones Brothers Farms, Inc. And since then, I have taken over Jones Brothers and Jones Brothers Farms, Inc. And you might say that I'm just one that really loves Troup County. Troup County's been good to me and my family, and over the years, I just wanted to give something back to Troup County.
Okay. You've been in office for 6 terms.
6 terms.
So for the last 24 years. So tell me, what are you most proud of over the last 6 terms?
Well, if you look at Troup County over the last 100 years, and especially from the 70s going into the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, Troup County has been a very progressive county. And probably the thing that I look at is how we have grown and how the Commission Board has had to take the terms of trying to keep the growth in place. You know, you want to grow, but you don't want to outgrow yourselves. And by working with a lot of say, your congressmen, your constitutional officers, the governor, the 3 cities, my fellow commissioners, Georgia Transportation, and the citizens of this county, they all have to work together to make Troup County one of the better counties in the state of Georgia. And if you don't realize, Troup County is one of the most envious counties. We're in the top 10 and one of the most envious counties in the state of Georgia. So I think the leadership, not only from the Commission Board, but from all of these other people that I just named, working together has really made Troup County a great county.
So there's been a lot of collaboration.
Exactly.
There has been some that say there should be term limits locally. So what is your counter argument to that?
My counter argument to that is we have term limits every 4 years. And if the people feel confident in you, then they're going to re-elect you. And I've been very fortunate and blessed for District 4. I've always gone to the commissioner's table. The old saying is, you know, we're just a regular citizen until we sit at the commissioner's table with our fellow commissioners. And I feel like I've gone to the table for District 4, and I have represented them. And I think they know that I've been accountable and responsible with their taxpayer dollars.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for Troup County right now?
The biggest challenge for Troup County right now, I think, is growth and how we're going to address that growth. And how, if you realize Troup County's road structures were back in, you may go back into the 70s and the 60s. And with the growth that we're having, and we're fortunate because we have industrial, we have commercial, and we have small businesses here in Troup County. And while we're growing with numbers, we have got to address our transportation system. And we're trying to get a good plan in place for our transportation system.
Speaking of transportation, there has been some discussion with needing a public transportation. What's your opinion on that?
I've never been against public transportation. I think it's something that we need to look into, and it's something we need to address. But that's something, how are we going to address it? You know, who's going to be responsible? Who's going to pay for it? How are you going to get it in place? And I think that that's been some of the hurdles that we've had to address as for public transportation.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about, I'm going to switch gears for a minute.
Okay.
I want to talk about a couple of votes. So recently there was a vote on short-term rentals.
Right.
And it was put in place that you have to own a property for at least 3 years before you can apply for a short-term rental permit.
Right.
And if approved, it can only be rented for 175 days in the year, and that there will be no more than 12 short-term rental permits approved in a year. Can you tell about the reasoning behind that a little bit and how you voted?
Well, the reason I voted on that is we changed it from Airbnb vacation rentals to short-term rentals. And the reason, the last couple of years, these short-term rentals have come up really around the lake. And we really hadn't had a lot of Airbnbs until that. So then it's always been public hearings for the people to come in and explain whether they're in favor of Airbnb short-term rentals or if they're not in favor. And we're sitting here with people that are coming in, and in your profession, you know, they put a lot of money into their homes. They've invested to where they want to be. Some of them are retired, and they want to feel comfortable about who's living around them. So all of these things that you just named were put in place. But at the same time, if somebody came into the commission board and had a good reasoning on why it should be changed or something in there should be amended to take place or make it feasible for them to do this, I have no problem with that. We've had ordinances and policies before that we've had to go in and amend it for individuals for it to happen. So what we did was just trying to protect the citizens that are out there and give a little leeway to kind of help them. But we're not against Airbnbs and we're not against short-term rentals. We just wanted to put something in place to kind of help the people.
So you're open to a modification to that if needed?
Exactly.
Okay. There's been the question on affordable housing in Troup County. Affordable housing is an issue everywhere.
Right.
Would you be open to allowing homes to be built in the county under 1,000 square feet? So if they're on a lot and they have access to a well and septic tank, they meet a minimum acre requirement, are you okay with them building what they want less than 1,000 square feet?
As long as it's in the zoning on that particular area. You know, we went back into the zoning to keep it the unincorporated area out there, to have it that countryside look. As far as affordable housing, I go back when Ricky Wolf was chairman. And Ricky Wolf was always pushing for affordable housing. And as a commission board, we've always sat there and listened. And here lately, we've done the same thing. We were fortunate enough to get some monies to come in for affordable housing, even though affordable housing, as you might say, what you're mentioning is not really out there in the unincorporated area yet. And I say yet because it's going to be one day probably when it is going to hit us as the commission board, and we're going to have to address it. But we have always, like in the city of LaGrange, for instance, they're sort of the front row leaders. And they have their committee set up for this. And yes, the commissioners have always listened. And if it was available for us to help, we've always been able to help.
There was a lot of opposition when the county made the decision to privatize the sanitation. And that has been in place almost a year. Can you tell us what the status is? Is it going to be up for vote again? And do you think that the last year, or over this last year, has it been a success? And what changes would you like to see?
Well, let's go back a few years ago when the commission board, we tried to go to curbside pickup. And at the time, we didn't think it was feasible to pursue it. The Board of Commissioners that I'm serving with now, and I'm one of them, yes, we looked at curbside pickup. And you got to realize that we are elected by districts. And I represent District 4 at the commission table, like I said earlier. And when it came to looking at curbside pickup, majority of my constituents already had curbside pickup. So I was sitting there looking, and you got to realize those constituents are paying, say, the city of LaGrange for curbside pickup, as well as on their tax bill paying for the unincorporated taxes. So I was looking at trying to help them on their tax bill by, if we went to curbside pickup, then that would come off of their tax bill. And you got to realize that every parcel in Troup County was paying for sanitation or trash in the unincorporated area of Troup County. So that was something we had to look at. And we wanted to be fair. And Kendall, I did say earlier in an article that there wasn't any curbside pickup. Well, what I meant was there was no organized, mandated type curbside pickup in the unincorporated area. And if you think about it, those companies were just picking up in certain areas.
Right.
Everybody in Troup County didn't have the ability to have curbside pickup, and this was a way that the county could have curbside pickup, and at the same time, we can watch to make sure those citizens are getting that service. And that's what we really wanted. Now, in my opinion, I think it's working. I know there's still some people that are probably not happy with it, but at the same time, I fought while we were moving forward on this to leave 4 sanitation sites open for bulky material. So if those people, whether they were in the city, or if they in the 3 cities, or whether they were in the unincorporated area, they could take that bulky material to those sanitation sites, and yes, they would have to pay, but at the same time, we gave them that opportunity.
What is the next step? So when it's up for review?
It is up for review. In fact, since it hadn't really been a full year, as you might say, we'll look at it and we'll see, because your business, my business, if you don't tweak it and if you don't stay up with the times, then you're going to get left behind. And we want to stay up. We want them to stay in business, but at the same time, we want them to be competitive with the other companies that are out there doing the same thing, like in your cities.
And I think some of the argument has been a lot of the citizens would like choice of being able to have a choice if they want curbside or who they want to use for curbside.
And I think they could still have that. I'm sure if they wanted it, they may can get it. But I think right now Martin is the company that is out there in the unincorporated area. And right now, we're trying not only to help Martin stay in business, but we want to make curbside pickup to stay here, And but we'll have to look at it. We don't know, because that's the reason we're open, and that's the reason we'll address it when it comes time to address it.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing Troup County right now?
I think it's, like I said, I think it's the growth. And I think it's the transportation issues that are going to be coming up. And if you look at growth, you want to be on top of growth. And to stay on top of growth is hard, You got to realize that each 3 cities have their own turf. And then you have the unincorporated area. And so in other words, that whatever's happening in the cities is out of jurisdiction of your county commissioners.
Right.
But we want to look at what's happening out in the unincorporated area.
Okay. What are your concerns about safety in Troup County? And there's multiple openings with the sheriff's office and the Troup County Fire Department. Do you, are the commissioners supporting what's being asked for? And what do we need to do to retain our deputies and our firefighters and recruit more?
Well, the sheriff department is under the sheriff, and the sheriff is a constitutional officer. And even though the board of commissioners do set his salary, but if you look over the last, especially 2 or 3 years, when the sheriff has come into the board of commissioners and asked for tools, as you might say, to help him in his office, even salary increases, we have addressed that. So yes, the safety of the sheriff, the safety the sheriff provides is very essential into the unincorporated part of Troup County. And yes, we want to support the sheriff. Also think about the fire department, that safety part of the,
Right.
Out of the unincorporated area. We have addressed with a lot of new trucks, fire trucks for the fire department. We've addressed their salaries. But when you get right down to it, Kendall, in county government, if you address increase in one salary, say the sheriff department or the fire department, you can't leave out the other departments and the other employees, because they are just as vital to Troup County as the sheriff department. Right. And the fire department and the road department when it comes to safety out here with issues. When we have a storm, trees in the roads or trees on side of the roads, they're out there trying to help too. So you have to address all the salaries when it comes to when you're giving those salary increases.
Good. Do you think that collaboration between the county, the city, Troup County Development Authority, and the Troup County school system is paramount for excellence in our school system?
I do, and I may, when you're sitting and talking, you leave out a lot of things. In the school system, the school board is one of them. Your county is not going to be as good as only as your school system is.
Absolutely.
And so by all of us working together, and if you go back and you mentioned my terms, when you go back, that was one of the things that I ran. If you think about the old 489, which is SDS agreements today. The old 489 was the reason the county and, say, the city of LaGrange, which is my district, wasn't really getting along too good.
And I'm not aware, so please tell us what that is.
The 489 was where you didn't have, you wouldn't be in charge for the same service. That was what the 489 bill was doing. And so, in other words, so I ran to build that bridge back with the city of LaGrange and Troup County. And I think that's the reason citizens of District 4 have been kind of pleased, is because I've kept that working relationship with the city of LaGrange. And if you don't work with the city of LaGrange and the school system and all the others that I mentioned, your county is not going to be as highly looked at as it is today.
Do you think that excellence in the school system and that each child can reach their highest potential without us having entire community involvement in our school system?
But you have to, but that's why you have your school board. And that's why you have your superintendent. And they know more about where they are and where they're standing on that end. But as far as working with the school system, the county has to have the roads out there in the unincorporated area for those buses to travel on, to give them a safety for those children while they own those buses. So yes, I think we all have to work together.
Okay. Morris, I'm going to give you a couple minutes for you to share with Troup County citizens of why they should vote for you.
I think Troup County citizens should vote for me is because I'm not bragging on myself, but I think I've done a pretty good job of representing District 4 along with all of Troup County. Like I said, I'm a lifelong resident of Troup County. I've represented District 4. I think I know the people. My telephone has always been open online for people to call me, and whatever concerns and issues that they have, I've always listened. If I wasn't able to get them or speak to them at that time, I've always been willing to call them back, hear what they got to say. And we have a county manager form of government. And once we hear that concern, then we go to the county manager, because the county manager is one of the employees that does work for the Board of Commissioners, and to make sure that he addresses whatever that situation is. And again, I've just been very humble and very grateful that the citizens of District 4 have had the confidence in me for the accountability and responsibility of their taxpaying dollars.
Well, Morris, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you for having me. And again, I'm Morris Jones. I'm running for District 4 of the Troup County Board of Commissioners. Your vote and support will truly be humbly grateful. Thank you, Kendall.